Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to stuff, things, things that one country might have that the other does not have. And today I'm going to specifically look at 10 things that America has that Britain doesn't. And 10 is the number of the day. Not only is it the number attached to this very listicle, but it's also tied to the fact that I've lived in the United States for the entirety of this decade that we are now reaching the very end of. And the fact that I haven't lived in Britain for a decade does mean I run the risk of including things on this list that have since been adopted by Britain and I was just away and missed it. So I think I was careful enough to do the requisite research before doing this video. So for instance, 10 years ago, I think I might have included, Mexican food or proms or Black Friday or vaping shops. But I've come to find through both my own experiences of visiting earlier this year and also just from secondhand accounts that these things have actually exploded in Britain. Not exploded. I mean, in some cases they have a presence. And so those things are not included, but I will admit that some of the things on my list do have an isolated presence in the United Kingdom. They're just not used or seen or, experienced on a grand scale like they are here in the United States. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 10 things that America has that Britain does not. Yes, wooden houses. So growing up, I watched a lot of American films, The Goonies, for example, that depicted these wooden houses, and they always seemed really sort of romantic to me. I don't know why. We don't really have them in Britain, or at least we don't have them en masse, shall we say. Most houses that you'll find in Britain are made of brick, rock solid, right? But the structural integrity of these American houses, these wooden houses, I am led to believe, is still good. It's nothing to worry about. And you might be wondering, well, why does America have so many of these wooden houses? Well, firstly, they're cheap. Cheaper than brick houses by quite a way. And also, there's quite a lot of wood just in the United States. You almost can't see the wood for the trees. That's not how that phrase works. And so they've been a mainstay of American housing since the 19th century. Now, that's not to say that, of course, America doesn't itself have brick houses. In fact, I kind of live in one myself. New York and Chicago, it's known for its brownstone apartments, but also you'll see brickery here and there. But I think for the most part, people here do live in houses that have a wooden exterior. I did when I first moved here, in fact, and I have to say it was fine. It was perfectly warm, well insulated. The odd spider got in, sometimes very odd spider, but we'll get onto that later. But it was just like any other house, really. I think my concern would have been that it would have, collapsed on me, or that rain would get in, or things like that. But no, of course, it's very. These houses are sturdy, as far as I can tell, and they're good. Now, whether the house is made of brick, wood, or miscellaneous, it's likely to contain the following. Air conditioning. Where would we be without it? Well, for the first 26 years of my life, I was without it. I usually just slept by the window, which was cracked open, and let in that sort of mild British air. That did the job for the most part. In the vast majority of the United States, you cannot do that, especially when the summer hits. In this country, temperatures reach sometimes as high as 40 degrees C or over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. If you don't have air conditioning, you will die, or at the very least feel horrific. Now, again, in Britain, you will find exceptions to this rule, particularly in public places, but for the vast majority of people, air conditioning is not a thing in their homes. And thankfully, neither is the following. According to the internet, and we all believe that, right? There's never been a recorded case in Britain of somebody dying from a spider bite. That is not true, of course, in the United States. There are deadly spiders here, and when I first moved here, that was something that I was quite wary of. I'm not really scared of spiders, but when something like that is alien to you and you move to one of the places where they are housed, it starts to play on your mind. And I get the impression this is true for quite a lot of British people. So I want to dispel some myths by uttering the following sentence. I, Lawrence Brown, have never seen a deadly spider outside of Indianapolis Zoo. It was supposed to be there. It was part of the attraction. And that's because they're quite rare. Okay, so the two spiders that you've really got to be wary of, but not that wary of, are black widows and brown recluses. I lived in Indianapolis. Brown recluses there are in fact indigenous to Indianapolis and some other surrounding states and the South. But here's a few things that you need to know about brown recluses. Firstly, they're recluses. You'll rarely ever see them. Again, I haven't. Secondly, they're not particularly vicious. They're not actually aggressive spiders. They're really only going to attack you if you prod them. And if you do that, then you deserve to be bitten. And as for black widows, you're probably never going to see one, but if you do, make sure it's not female. The female of the species is more deadly than the male, because they're the only ones that can kill you. If I've not seen a deadly spider in 10 years, then you'll be fine, right? That's not how you're going to die. You're going to die of heart disease. I mean, that's statistically likely. So, Merry Christmas! But speaking of things that are deadly, here's something else Britain doesn't have. Now again, I do want to reiterate that tornadoes absolutely exist in Britain, but there have been no recorded cases of fatalities. I do remember there was a close shave in Birmingham in the 2000s. They're usually really weak. I remember one turning up at the beach where I lived near, and the extent of the damage was a fallen deck chair. We don't have anything to worry about in Britain when it comes to tornadoes, but in America, of course, that ain't true. Now again, when it comes to America, heart disease is the thing that you most need to be worried about. You're not very likely to die of a tornado, but that doesn't mean that people don't. Nature can be very, very punishing, and if you live in the Great Plains, or you live in the Midwest, or you live in the South, or other pockets of the United States, you may well encounter a tornado. But as with deadly spiders, I have to report to you today that in my 11 years of living in the United States, I've yet to encounter a tornado. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to one day, but remember that the United States is very large. So when these tornadoes turn up, they don't affect the whole state that they're showing up in. It's just a very small area of that state at any given time. Now, I did once encounter a tornado warning in which the wife and I and the two cats that we had at the time had to huddle together in the tiniest bathroom you've ever seen. So it turned out to be a false alarm, and all we got there was bad cramps. So all I'm saying is, don't worry. Come to the United States, move to the United States. Do not be worried about tornadoes. Unless you see one, then run. What? Britain doesn't have deserts? Outrage! You were reading too fast. It said deserts. Yes, that's right. With the exception of the Dungeness Headland in Kent, Britain does not boast any deserts, and even that one is debatable. But the United States, specifically the western portion of the United States, is quite known for its deserts, with Mojave and the like doing their thing. And that again just speaks to the vast terrain of the United States that I didn't even touch on in the video that I did previously about that very thing. So yes, you have large mountains here, you have the flatlands of the Great Plains, you have swamps, something else I didn't touch on, but deserts are a key feature of the West. You don't really want to find yourself, tornadoes or otherwise, stranded in one of those without a water bottle. So basically, in America, don't mess with Mother Nature. That's the key. I say that though as somebody that's not visited any of the deserts yet here in the United States. I'd love to, and you can safely. You just have to know the rules first. Let me know in the comments below if you live in any of the United States deserts or near them, and shed some light on what that's like, because for people like me from Britain, it's an alien concept. One thing you won't find in a desert is our next entry. Actually, you might. They're everywhere. Wal-Mart, Wal-Mart, Wal-Mart. This is definitely not a sponsored video. One clarification here is you will find Wal-Mart-owned stores in the United Kingdom, such as Asda. What you won't find is a supermarket with its own zip code, because they are that big here in the United States. They're huge, in fact. Now, yes, of course, Britain may have some exceptions to this rule. They might have some supersized supermarkets here and there, but America has them everywhere, specifically when we are talking about Wal-Mart. These things are huge, and they stock absolutely everything you can think of, including car tires. You don't even have to go to the automobile shop or whatever that's called. And for me, it's overwhelming. I mean, I don't like walking into stores at the best of times just because it makes me dizzy, but Walmart especially so. So I steer clear of that place as best I can and just go to Aldi. Not knocking anybody that does shop at Walmart, by the way. You've obviously just got more stamina than I do. Sometimes next to Walmart and any of the retail outlets that you'll find in the United States, you might encounter one of these. Actually, one of these might be an understatement. One of the prevailing memories that I have of my first day in the United States, at least living here, was the blanket of neon signs everywhere. Indianapolis looked like Vegas by comparison. It was fun, you know, it was certainly different to anything I'd ever known. I would almost say there was a novelty value to it. Neon signs in Britain usually indicate something quite seedy, or somewhere you shouldn't take your mum. And so given that, it was actually quite jarring, still is to this day, to see the word bail bonds written in neon lights. Initially I thought it was an S&M reference, so just be careful where you enter. For the most part you'll be fine, but I assure you, you don't have to have any concerns about entering our next place. Alright, so after 11 years of living in the United States, the only reason I can see that you wouldn't like Arbys is if you have some weird commitment to McDonald's. Or if you're a vegetarian/vegan, then I can see it. But Arbys is without question my favourite fast food restaurant. I don't eat it every day, because see previous comment about heart disease, but I do eat it every other day. That's a lie. We don't have enough of them here in Chicago. Whenever I go back to Indiana to visit, I make sure I get Arbys. Their curly fries are amazing. Again, not a sponsored video, don't get that idea, including you Arbys. But if you're on the road and you really do have to succumb to fast food, I think this is your best bet. Get the roast beef sandwich. No, get the double roast beef sandwich. You will not regret it. Your stomach lining might, but you won't. The taste is exquisite. I should point out, by the way, that if there are any pedants from Britain who have a fantastic memory, Arbys did have a very tiny presence in Britain in the early 2000s, but the last Arbys closed there in 2001 and it hasn't been back since. One thing's for sure though, Arbys and many, many outlets like it have the following. Anybody that's followed my channel now for a while will know that I have feelings on free refills. In fact, I did an entire video about it. And while they are all the rage here, and of course you'll find them in most fast food outlets and other places, there is one clarification I have to make here. You will find free refills as an option in places like Subway in the United Kingdom. So in some capacity, America has exported it, but it is by no means as universal in the United Kingdom as it is in the United States. And as I've said before, I think the temptation of knowing that I could get a free cup of pop on top of the one that I've already had is what made me give up pop in the first place. So I do have that to thank America for. Of course, if you are American and you have the willpower to stay away from the free refills, more power to you. Same goes for our final entry. Oh, pancakes. Pancakes are special in Britain. We absolutely have them. That's not what I'm saying here. What I am saying is we usually devote one day a year to eating them, and most of us won't eat them at any other time. So when I was a kid growing up, I had a lot of fun on Pancake Day, or Shrove Tuesday, attempting to make pancakes with my mum. She did most of the work, especially after I nearly burnt down the house. But in America, you can eat them any day of the year. Just head down to IHOP, that's International House of Pancakes, and get your pancake filling right there. But you don't even have to do that. I mean, you will find pancakes on the menu at a lot of these sort of, cafes and all manner of other places. They are very, very prevalent. So when you talk about Pancake Day in America, actually, IHOP has its own sort of Pancake Day on or around Shrove Tuesday. But most people don't take it seriously. It's because every day is Pancake Day. That's it for this episode. Don't forget to let me know in the comments below how you like your pancakes. Do you mix it with your Arbys roast beef sandwich? Don't do that. And if you've not had the chance, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond. And a big, big shout out to all my patrons who make this channel possible. Without you, none of it would be, from the writing to the research to the tornado shelters. If you would like to become a patron of this channel, you can do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond. All patrons will have access to my secret live stream, and anybody that pledges $5 or more a month will get that, plus my secret podcast and more. Until next time, keep enjoying Vlogmas, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to hit my stupid little face to subscribe, and please share this video with the world. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and if you would like to support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond.